Hello everybody, welcome back to Song Snob. Thank you all. Did you have a good weekend? Really? Did you miss me? Maybe not. So, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take a request. I have done those on occasion, but not usually. I just pursue a song that I feel would be interesting, but today we're doing a request. It has been requested that I react to... I can't remember the username. I'm very bad at remembering names, so I'm probably not going to remember your name. I apologize. But we are reacting to Aesthetic Perfection, Gods and Gold. Feature Richard Z. Krushpa. That would be the ethnic... It's a German name, I know. Or in that general area of Central to Eastern Europe. Krushpa. You would probably say it Cruspy. But anyway, so this should be interesting. I have not heard of this group in any capacity, so this is literally a first-time reaction in the truest sense. I have no idea what to expect. Suffice to say, this should be interesting. I'll try anything just about once. I even tried listening to Lowercase. Look that up, it's a very strange musical genre. Anyway, let's get into this. Aesthetic Perfection, Gods and Gold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Gods and there is a darkness. Inflicts a stage at war, a inner conflict. The seeds of vitriol. We're taking the candles and crumble and fall. We time for a time to make nothing at all. It's something to hold them to love. Is there no hope? We wanna be free. We're hanging up something. I'm coming free. I'm letting one run in the streets. Is there no hope? For all our woes. When we outgrow a endless war of gods and gold. Down. There is no justice. There is just rage and greed. To live with conscience is to live on your knees. The sea is the face of the price that you pay. The fact that we're spending inside of the day. We're heading to hell in a place. Is there no hope? Taking his stitches and dragging him down. Loyally, royally, free for the ground. Wibbly, dibbly, down. Is there no hope?
My initial reaction to this was slightly negative, mostly because I'm okay with disturbing imagery, but it was just so much all at once at first. It did nothing to sort of lull you in the video. That is not, that's just a criticism of the video. That doesn't take away from the song. This was mildly confusing. I wasn't sure if this was techno or industrial. Now, I know there's some of you who said that they think subgenreizing is pointless, that everyone should be a genre of their own. That's not how man-made things work. Things are in a category for a reason. Suffice to say, I was confused as to which category this is honestly belong to. Is this industrial or is this techno? This is industrial has elements of techno in it, and I think this is more in the techno direction. Maybe some Nine Inch Nails might have sounded like this if it was more aggressive and evil sounding. All in all, I think the guitars were really good. The downbeat was a little weak, in my opinion. It had a weak downbeat, because downbeating is this genre's mainstay, whether it's techno or industrial, and I felt the downbeat was a little weak. It should have been a little heavier. I don't know if that's just a nitpick or if that's something I'm going to honestly take a point away for. This had some nice melody to it. It had some melodic stuff. That was cool. And the transition between the heavier, more aggressive and evil-sounding stuff and the melody was very smooth. Like, it was like glass. It was as smooth as glass. And I always love that when when you incorporate two very different elements and are able to transition between them so smoothly. That's beauty and perfection at work. That's poetry in motion. So that I also can't take a point away for that. Jeez. But I just felt the downbeat was very weak. I felt the downbeat was very weak. And the vocals for that style, it's a stylistic thing. They're quite harsh, they're quite aggressive. And I can imagine, like, maybe the way he was doing it. I'm familiar with a number of techniques for harsh vocals and growlies. And I feel like his technique, it sounds like it would kind of be painful, It's like hard on the voice. That's not really, that's more just a criticism of the artist itself. That doesn't hurt the song. That's just more or less me commenting. All in all, I would say that this is a 4. Because that downbeat is very weak. I'm sorry, that's the truth. When you're in the techno-industrial genre, you gotta emphasize that downbeat. It's anatomical to the style. And if it were a little stronger, like, you want the sound of a nice, strong downbeat, you want to talk fucking Rob Zombie or Rammstein. They have the strongest downbeats in the genre, in this general area, undeniably. And there's even some older techno stuff where the downbeat is just and it's perfect. So with that out of the way, yeah, this is a 4. This is a 4. Not bad though. Not bad. Some of you are probably going to attack my criticism. You're going to be like, oh, you're unfair, you're nitpick. Do you even know what a downbeat is? I know what it is. I know what it is. Now, I'm going to take a look at the lyrics and see what I can see here. I'm the bear that went over the mountain. See what he could see. Of gods and gold, there is a darkness, it breeds just hate and war, our inner conflict the seeds of vitriol. Well, yeah, there's an inner conflict and darkness in all of us. That's just kind of the human nature. You actually look at humanity in general, the way we act, we're very inconsistent. We're very inconsistent. Because we're a little bit evil, but we're also a little bit good, too. We're also a little bit smart and a little bit dumb. We're very inconsistent. Like, is this just a transitory stage of our existence? And the reason why we're inconsistent is because we're transitioning. We're the caterpillar in the cocoon. Just in the cocoon. Just a thought. But these inner conflicts, they do breed just hate and war much of the time. And the seeds of vitriol, treating each other like garbage. We're clinging to castles that crumble and fall. We die for a cause that means nothing at all. Our soul is the whole of the law. Is there no hope? Our soul is the whole of the law. Now that is an interesting line. That reminds me of the Satanic Bible, do as thou wilt and that shall be the whole of the law. Is this sort of a deliberate contradiction to that notion? Do as thou wilt and that shall be the whole of the law? Is our soul is the whole of the law? That's an interesting notion. What even is the soul? It's a concept that has never been properly defined. We can more or less define spirit as the essential element to be considered truly alive. That definition works, and it usually works in reference to the breath and breath control and breathing and other elements like blood and consciousness, perhaps. But what the hell is a soul? Soul and spirit are not the same thing. They're not the same concept. Clinging to the castles that crumble and fall is a clear indication of clinging to a lost cause that you'll never win no matter what. And that is further added by the line, we die for a cause that means nothing at all. The cause is meaningless, either because it cannot be fulfilled, it cannot be won, or because it never mattered to begin with. It's just pettiness. There's a definite theme here of petty, vitriolic behavior. And that our soul is somehow the whole of the law. Is there no hope? I don't know. Maybe, yes, no. We want to feel something. We want to be free. We're hanging ourselves on our family tree. Our blood, it will run in the streets. Is there no hope? Well, we all want to feel something. Feeling emotion, feeling sensation. That's what makes us truly feel alive. Otherwise, we feel kind of dead. And we want to be free. We all want to be free. Right? We don't want to be imprisoned by anything in particular. We're not in the cage. And we're hanging ourselves in our family tree. That may be a reference to the idea that you're sort of trapping yourself behind family values, or maybe you've sort of been crucified to the tree, crucified on the family tree, that you're sort of punishing yourself or others for not holding to your family values or to your legacy, and that maybe your blood will run in the streets because of feuding, and there may be no hope for what may be a sort of like a vitriolic family feud. That's what it's looking like to me. For all our woes will we outgrow our endless war of gods and gold. So it's talking sort of about religious and familial war and conflict over money, which is really the human story, all the conflicts over land and money and gods and such. And can we honestly outgrow, all our woes and our endless war and all the misery we've created for ourselves? I again go back to my metaphor about, are we just like the caterpillar in the cocoon? Are we becoming something else, and that's why our actions are so inconsistent? I don't know. There is no justice, there is just rage and greed. That's a very pessimistic take. To live with conscience is to live on your knees. That's not entirely true. To live with conscience, the idea of a conscience, the human moral instinct, which in some clinical trials is actually measurable, and they've also shown consciousnesses existing in dogs, even. A dog will grab another dog and pull out of the street in front of the passing cars, which is something that has been caught on video. You can't live solely on your knees if you're going to live with your conscience. Because sometimes to truly live with your conscience, you need to take action. You feel the urge to prevent a misdeed when you witness it. Many people have experienced this. I myself have also experienced just the sudden instinctive urge to prevent a misdeed. How the hell are you going to prevent a misdeed on your knees? I have to disagree with them here. Most of the ideas presented in the song I absolutely agree with until this came along. Absolutely not. You have to take action. You cannot take action on your knees. And to say that there is no justice, that's not entirely true. Many people have been falsely accused of a misdeed, and they finally got acquitted. So there is justice. It's just that for whatever reason, justice is much harder to achieve than injustice. Immorality is easier than morality, for whatever reason. There is a great deal of rage and greed, though. This is an overly pessimistic view, and I cannot agree with it. Still, I think this song's meaning and ideas are terribly important. They say that salvation's the price you pay, the blackness is spreading in the light of day, we're heading to hell in a blaze, is there no hope? So this sort of did take a very Christian bent. Obviously, this may be coming from a very Christian perspective even. I did see some cross-related imagery, also saw some fairly disturbing imagery in the video. Maybe I'll include a link in the description so you can see it for yourself. Like, it was a bit much even for me, and I freaking like scary horror movies and shit. Maybe it was just the pacing of all the imagery just all at once. But yeah, the blackness is spreading in the light of day, so meaning not like literal blackness, but the metaphorical darkness is spreading even in the light of day. So, you know, that's a great, terrible evil, almost like it's blocking out the sun. So it's creating this image of something horrible, dominating the light and the good. We're digging our ditches and dragging them down. Loyalty, royalty, pay for the crown. Willfully, skillfully, is there no hope? Okay, that went a little bit Dr. Seuss there on the rhyme scheme. Willfully, skillfully. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse went out the clock. That's kind of where that went. Only these aren't the kind of poets who make up words like hickory dickory dock. So those aren't words. Jeez. But, well, Shakespeare made up words all the time. Have you ever said upstairs or downstairs? That's him. He invented those words. But we're digging our ditches and dragging them down. So you're dragging people down into a ditch that you created. This depth of immorality, and then you're sucking people down into it. And you loyalty to a royal, paying for the crown, paying for the king. And the thing about kings is that a lot of the time they're warriors who are sitting on the backs of their fallen enemies. Kings grow from conflict and conquest. That's largely what makes kings different from presidents. A president is typically in a democratic republic as someone who is chosen by the people to lead, versus someone, a king, who stepped on their backs to get to the top. They're two very different things. One is fair, and one is brutally unfair. And there's will and skill behind it. It's true. Many evil people are very mighty and very to be respected for their power. You're not a fool who throws your life away in front of that powerful evil person. But at the end of the day, you know that you're messing with somebody you shouldn't ought to be. They're willful and skillful. Then there's another chorus. There's one chorus repeat for all our woes will we outgrow. Gold. And then a second chorus repeat of gods and gold, of gods and gold. So I basically agree with what the song is saying, but their attitude about the idea is overly pessimistic. And maybe that's more of just for the sake of the aesthetic of the video and the concept, which is why they might be called aesthetic perfection. I wouldn't necessarily call it perfection. Lyrically, this is basically poetry. It has a very poetic, stanza-like cadence to it. It's like poetry. And when I write my books, my stories, they kind of read like poetry. So they read similar to poetry, which is why I'm sort of familiar with the form. And honestly, the lyrics are better than the music itself. And they were perfectly audible, for at least to me anyway. I can't really take any points away from the pessimism, but it does prevent it from being anything that I would say is my favorite song. It's just a little too pessimistic for me. Lyrically, if you can forgive sort of the cheesy pseudo-stanza prose-esque style of lyrics, because I personally like that. I don't know if you guys do. I see no real problem with the rhyme scheme. It all makes sense. It's in-depth. It's not juvenile. We're probably looking at a 5 here, an easy 5 out of 5, with music 4 out of 5, because, like I said, that downbeat was pretty weak. With that being said, this is a pretty decent song. I like it. It's clever. It just needs to be happier. Well, maybe not happier, just not as pessimistic. You can be, the way I see it, you can be as dark as you want to be, just so long as there's a little light at the end of the tunnel to sort of justify it and balance it out. If you're so constantly pessimistic like that, it's just not good for your emotional health. It really is not. It's also not good to be constantly angry or hateful. A message to myself. Yeah, with that being said, there will be a link to my description below to my books. Please buy, download, and read them. And as always, tschüss. Peace.